Welcome to the Ask Weldon Show, episode 155. Today we are going to talk about how to deal with toxic teammates, how to smurf correctly, focusing on the process and not the outcome, and one-trick ponying. So for those of you that do not necessarily play League of Legends or some choice like role-based esports, one-trick ponying is when you choose a single role or a single category or a single champion or even a single archetype of champions, and specifically only ever play them in every single game. This is the Ask Weldon Show. I am Weldon. I'm a sports psychology trainer and esport psychology trainer and esport coach. I primarily coach League of Legends. I've also coached in other esports as well. And in this show, people ask questions about human performance. That's basically it, human performance. Human performance in many different fields, from management to studies to esport. Obviously, mostly we're going to be talking about esports since that is the realm with which I am most excited to discuss things. And you can send in your questions for the show by using the hashtag AskTwitter. No, not AskTwitter. You can ask your questions for the show on Twitter by using the hashtag AskWeldon. ASK and then Weldon. I spelled the easier word there for you so that you would actually, look up my name. And then you can also just hop on the Discord. Down below this video, there's a Discord link, and you can hop on the Discord, and there's a channel where you can just type out your questions. I prefer audio questions. As you can see today, I'm going to use 2 audio questions on the show, and it would be really nice if I could get more of them. We're scraping the bottom of the barrel here. We're almost out of audio questions. You will always get your question on the show if you put in an audio question because we have so few of them, they just bump right to the top. So make sure that you do that. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that you'll break through the noise, but yeah, that's about it for announcements. Hey guys, TSM won, finally. Yes. So we've had a really, for me, what do you call it? When you have something happy and something sad. Bittersweet. We've had a very bittersweet weekend with G2 going down and TSM going up. One more victory in their pockets, and I was hoping that G2 would stomp Fnatic, but it looks like we're gonna have to wait for the finals on that. So yeah, bittersweet weekend so far. We'll see how it rounds out. I know that there's still one more day left of each LCS, and oh no, EU is over, right? EU LCS is over for the week, but we get to see the NA LCS tomorrow. See how TSM does. If they can pull a 2-0 weekend, I will be very happy. It'll almost make up for the 1-1 G2 weekend that we had. All right. No other announcements. Why don't we jump into the show, everybody? I will have an announcement next week. For sure. 1,000,000%. Okay. First question today. How do you deal with toxic teammates? I think it's making me tilt and get an ego, meaning that when your teammates are being toxic, you kind of like listen to that and you get all stuck up yourself. Okay, so this is a very, very good question and I took it not because of the question itself, because I've gotten this question a lot before. How do you deal with toxic teammates? I took this question because the focus is on the self, right? Not how do you deal with toxic teammates. What do I do about them? How do I deal with toxic teammates? Their constant railing is making me feel like I'm better than them. And that's a very interesting way to look at the situation. Because it's true, right? Whenever you have somebody who's toxic, one of the first things that you start doing is being judgmental. And that's a really challenging mindset to, first of all, realize that you're falling into, and secondly, to problematize in the first place. Like, most people do not have a problem thinking judgmentally about other people who are being toxic or nasty, without realizing that actually this reflects upon you and comes back to you and makes you kind of carry this ego into your next situation, into your next move, and cause this kind of emotional tilt yourself. So I think that this question from Chad is actually quite wise and fantastically interesting. And I wanted to talk about how to escape without judgment. Now, I am a very bad person to talk about this topic in general because I feel like I judge people far too often. At the same time, I do strive to be very humble and always accept that basically I could be crap and other people can be amazing, and it's there's a lot of like luck involved with piloting through the world. So I think that humility is a very, very powerful tool for productivity and for motivation, and I think that it's a mindset that you want to create. So here is my approach towards generating a humble stance instead of a I would say like an judgmental stance. So the first thing is gratefulness conditioning. So I mentioned this actually before the show. By the way, if you want to catch the show live, you can come to twitch.tv/mindgamesweldon. We have great discussions before and after the show there. But I was talking before the show about gratefulness conditioning with one of the viewers, and I think that it's like the key to unlocking the acceptance of first world benefits. I say first world benefits, there's first world problems, right? And there's things you just take for granted, like having clothes and having a car and having a house and having carpet and having warm air in the wintertime when it's below freezing outside, and just all these things that you just don't even notice because they always happen, right? But if you take a moment to notice them, you might go, wow, I can't believe it. Like 90% of people in the world, or 99% of people in the world don't have this, and things like that. So gratefulness conditioning is a great way to kind of tackle that concept in a productive way, because there's a way to feel shame about it, and there's a way to just go walk around feeling guilty all the time. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about appreciation. Gratefulness conditioning is a pretty simple concept. I'm using a fancy word, but it's basically just thinking of what you're grateful for every day. And what you do is you get in a habit of noticing and appreciating things that you previously took for granted. Okay? And then that allows you to understand other people more when they get into a situation where they're being toxic, and you're like, I mean, I have a wonderful mother, I have a wonderful sister, I have a wonderful wife, I have a wonderful, you go through these litany of things that have set you up to allow you to be emotionally satiated, right? And you see this person who's hurting, who's in pain, who's being very tilted, and instead of becoming judgmental about them, you become compassionate about them. And that is like the turn that you need to take when you're trying to prevent yourself from developing an ego and becoming judgmental. And some people say, like, I don't want your pity, but that's not the point. You can pity yourself as well. And it's much better to have somebody's compassion than it is to have their judgment. It's easier to have somebody's judgment. Like, you just want them to judge you and not pity you, right? But it's that's mostly, the people can't handle it, mostly because they're tilted, right? And they know that they're doing something wrong, and they don't want to face up to the fact that this other person is not only not judging them, but is actually being compassionate towards them. That makes them feel twice as worse, right? So this is kind of like an indication of how correct this stance is, that like the people who are doing something wrong can't even cope with it. But essentially, you want to feel a kinship to them. You want to feel your humanity and their humanity, which is easiest if you see kind of like what the girders and the structures of your life are, which you get through this consistent reflection and gratefulness and appreciation for these girders and the kinds of things that support your identity and who you are and helped form you. And then at the same time, you can see somebody as another human who has like a different life situation right now and a different emotional makeup right now and just can't handle things right now. And you can feel compassion for them. And that's when you see people who are in chat reaching out to people who are being toxic and being like, hey man, hope your day's going well. Like, I'm so sorry. And trying to talk them out of it, like in a therapy sense, I would say. So yeah, I think that's the kind of stance that I would tackle. And good luck with that, Chad. I hope that made sense a little bit. All right, next question is actually an audio question. Really excited. From one of my favorite writers' inners, I guess, callers' inners. I am a mitten. Hopefully this plays right away. There's been some problems with the app.
Hey, Weldon.
Oh.
In your 34th episode, you talked about focusing on the process and not the outcome when trying to relax and enjoy a game. I'm guessing this is because I can control 100% of the process, let's say. And usually of the outcome, in many cases, I don't even have a 50-50 chance to win or hope for the desired outcome. So I'm wondering, how does this mindset work for more ambitious long-term goals? Is it exactly the same mindset for pros and amateurs, or does it shift at any point? So in other words, let's say I set my value-driven goals. Should I always be in a process-focused mindset, regardless of how ambitious those goals are? That's my question. Thanks, Weldon.
All right, fantastic question. So for those of you, just to recap, process versus outcome focused. Process being like the next step you're going to take out. So the process of improvement, outcome being winning or losing. I've always said that in a League of Legends game or many other esports, you have a 1/10 impact on the victory or the loss. And so you should be focusing on your process of improvement and not the outcome of the game in particular. And the question is, how does this work for more ambitious long-term goals like going pro or becoming president or things like that? So the answer is that there have been studies on that it's not exclusive. So you said, should I be in a process-driven mindset? And I want to change that around to, should I have a process focus? That doesn't mean you cannot also have an outcome focus. So what they do, what they see, and I mean they because I have not conducted these studies, although I have read them. What they find when they study motivational like categories of high achievers is they find both motivations. They find they're very motivated by mastery, so the pursuit of the process and the self-improvement and the consistent focus on like getting better every day, and they're very motivated by the outcome. They're very motivated by winning and losing, and it hits them very hard. So I think that during the week you should be focused on the process, and then in the match on the weekend you should be focused on the outcome. And if you're thinking about it in terms of like the scale, right? The little lady who's blind who's holding up the scale, and you're thinking like, okay, you have a little bit more of one day and a little bit less of what the other day. In reality, sorry, I closed my eyes there to mimic the lady, and that triggered my yawn reflex for some reason. In reality, you're going to be really high on both of these indices, okay? You're not going to be low on either of them if you're going to be a high achieving individual. It's kind of proven in a way that you need this kind of insane drive to get something very ambitious. Now, if you're just an average person and you don't have the ambitious goal, then the healthiest thing mentally is to be very process focused and to like try to avoid outcome focus, because it can control so much of your life, your parenting, your athletic career. You can go to the gym and then just be really focused on lifting heavier weights than the other person when you need to put in, 6 months more work, and you're 10 years older, so you also need to be doing a lot more mobility work, So there's all sorts of things that you can damage about your life and your body by being outcome focused in just like the everyday realm. And that's why it is so good to be process focused just like on a day-to-day basis. But then in terms of these ambitious goals, you got to have maximum levels of both. I hope that was a helpful answer. And thanks for such insightful questions today. We've had 2 questions, I'm Mitten and Chad, that took a nice twist, that took the topics that we always talk about like to another level. And I wish that this were a call-in show so that we could keep chatting, because I feel like there's something I'm missing here that we can keep digging into even more. But next time, we'll get there. We'll get to the call-in show, you guys. It's going to happen. All right. Question number 3. Fast champions with a lot of mobility always outplay me easily. What can I do to improve laning against high mobility champions and against skill shots? 35-year-old with slower than average reaction time. Okay, I'm going to start at the end of this question. 35 years old means you don't have a lot of time to train, I guess. Slower than average reaction time. So just to put this in perspective for everybody, it's not really like you don't really know if you have slower than average reaction time. If we're talking about reaction time, but if we're talking about sport reaction time, then it's possible to kind of like get a consensus on that. So let me divide this into 2 camps for you. There's reaction time, which is like you go to the doctor and they hit your knee with a little rubber hammer, and it boing, like pops up, okay? And every human falls on a bell curve for that, and it's pretty dependent on genetics, epigenetics, diet, and general health and well-being. So but it all falls within a small range. with all humans, there's a very, very small range of difference there, and everybody basically has the same reaction time for all intents and purposes. So you could have slower than average reaction time in terms of like getting your hammer hit with a knee, or like the speed at which thought goes from your neurons to your muscles, but it would be almost irrelevant for sport performance for what we're talking about. Then you have reaction speed to stimuli. So you have a stimulus that comes into your brain, it gets processed, it gets spit into an equation, let's say like a function, and you have a reaction, and that reaction comes out, and then you make a reaction, you make a choice on it. Now this reaction time is programmed. It is programmed into the brain by you. It's a sport-specific reaction time. It is something that you condition and speed up or speed down based on the quality and the quantity of your training. So when you say slower than average reaction time in 35, I think, well, obviously you're not able to train as much as other people, so you're going to have a slower reaction time because it is dependent on quantity and quality of training. And you probably are not able to have a high quantity of training compared to an 18-year-old because you're not able to play video games for 10 hours a day. And it's a global ladder. Remember, in the global ladder, you're not facing against people who are also 35 and busy and have kids and have a job. You're facing against people who are 18 and have been playing video games for 12 hours a day, every day for the last 4 years. That's a little bit of an exaggeration, but that's how I feel sometimes. So it's probable that your assessment is a little bit skewed. Now, let's go to the beginning of the question. Fast champions with a lot of mobility outplay me easily. What can I do to improve laning against high mobility champs and against skill shots? So the first thing that you should do is you should get very good at the visualization and prediction of what's going to happen. So part of the problem with high mobility champs is that they're more difficult to predict because instead of just moving in a straight line and you always know their speed, is that they have a threat radius that is much higher than you've been anticipating. So you need to improve your anticipation of their threat radius, and you need to improve your anticipation of skill shots. And the way that you do that is you always try to visualize what possibly could go wrong and when you are dead. When in their eyes are you dead? So there's two ways to do this, but the best way is to watch your VODs and then look at their decision-making. Look at the opponent's decision-making and seeing, like, why did he go in here? Why did he not go in here? Apparently, I'm not dead here. Apparently, I'm not dead here. Okay, apparently, I am dead here. Like, he sees me, and he sees that I'm dead. The other way to train this, and probably the best way, is to play those champions yourself and see when people are dead. And then you will be walking down to your tower, and you will be facing one of these champs, and you'll be arriving in lane, and you'll be like, oh, like right now, if I walk within this circle, I'm dead. So, yeah, so I should stay out of that threat radius. Okay, so that's one half of the equation. The other part of this question, they outplay me easily, meaning that they're shooting left and right and right and top. And this is unfortunately a problem of trained visual responses and click accuracy and click speed, right? So click accuracy and clicking speed within the game of League of Legends, you can transfer some of this across MOBAs, I think. I believe that it's a skill that, and this isn't proven yet, so we don't actually know, but I think that this is essentially a skill that is transferable, similar to snowboarding and skateboarding in a way. And so if your click accuracy is not where it needs to be to click on champions, one of the best things you can do is focus on that. You can only ever accurately click on things that you want to click on, and you can try to reduce misclicks by not allowing yourself to click as often. And you can punish yourself kind of mentally and aggressively for missing certain clicks, and you can strive to always be improving your click speed and your click accuracy. And you can play games like Osu, maybe to get a feel for just how bad you are, to motivate you to try harder and to kind of measure your improvement in a way. But I don't think that Osu translates directly into League of Legends, although it does engage the same area of your brain. So if you've ever lifted weights and you've had a trainer, you know that you can be like trying to concentrate on something, and then your trainer can like poke that muscle, and it helps you get the mind-muscle connection going, right? They don't actually wire up the mind and muscle connection, but they poke your muscle for you or touch it or hit it, and it helps you feel it, and then you can clench it during your lift, okay? They're not actually making your muscle stronger. That's how I see Osu, For those of you who don't know, OSU exclamation point is like a click-based speed and click accuracy game. It doesn't, I don't think, help you get stronger in League of Legends, right? But it does help you feel that area of your brain where you're focused on accuracy and speed of your mouse, and kind of feel where that muscle is so that you can focus on that muscle in an actual training match. So I would recommend that you try that out just so you get what the feel of what it's like, and then I want you to do that in your lane. Good luck, Team Hero. Good luck. That was a Twitter question, by the way. All right, and now we have another question from France.
Hello. How do you use a Smurf to practice your just game understanding when you are a one-trick pony? Do you think it's better to spam games on your main champs when you are on the Smurf? Or do you think it's better to just try other champs and have a broader and larger understanding of the game?
Okay, so this is going to be, first of all, I don't believe in smurfing. So I think that like it's a waste of time. I think that you should focus on your single account and you should get it as high as you can, and you should focus only on that account. I think smurfing is a coping mechanism, mostly a mental and emotional coping mechanism, and I think that you should simply play a single champ in a single account. But I understand that there are people who are doing some sort of collector thing where they're playing only a one-trick pony on an account and they don't want to play any games aside from Annie, right? Or Rengar or something like that. So there's this kind of collector-esque impact of getting an account with a one-trick pony on it, and maybe they don't want to taint that. Okay, so then I would see it conceptually as the other account is actually the main account and play every champion on there. I would make sure that you play a wide diversity of champions on your Smurf. Just honestly, just play the champion that you want to play. Like I don't think that there's. I think this question depends so much on your goals. I don't know what your goals are. If you're doing this collector account, then yes, of course you should play other champions on your Smurf. If you're trying to climb, then I don't even know why you have a Smurf. So I can only assume from this question the motivations are not to obtain the highest rank possible. Therefore, you log onto the Smurf and you play what you want to, whatever you want to play. You're obviously logging on there so you don't have to play your one trick. So you could play something else instead. I don't know. A question like this is confusing to me because I'm not exactly sure why you would have a Smurf, other than to keep your one trick pony account pure, in which case you're going to be playing whatever you want on your Smurf account. But if your point is to go pro, then you should be one-trick ponying yourself as high as possible, or you should be playing all the games on your main account. And if your point is to improve as much as possible, then it's irrelevant whether or not your account is pure. Then you should be playing all of your games on your main account, because, and I will answer that in the next question because of this question. Here we go. Since I know you are a fan, this is from Power Invader. Oh, wait, actually, you know what? Before we get into the last question, so part 2 of the answer to this question is going to come in the final, but before we get in there, I want to promote my Mac program. So you guys, I work with pro teams mostly, and this is mostly because I don't have a lot of time to work with amateurs anymore, although I used to exclusively work with amateurs. That's how I built my skill set and my brand after I was a sports psychology trainer for traditional athletes, and coach for football and swimming. I decided to get into esport, and I started there. But one of my goals, kind of going up, and one of my ambitions was to continue to provide services at the amateur level, and whether that's through training other coaches or whether that's through kind of direct volunteer training, pro bono, showing up at LANs, things like that, or whether it's through this program, which is a video training course of the exact thing that I do with pro teams. Literally the exact thing that I do with pro teams. I'm even starting to add some of the activities and off workshops that I do with pro teams. I don't mean workshops like the videos. I mean the activities like the Google Sheets that I do with them, with instructional pieces written up for that. And I'm doing that because I'm rebuilding the content for version 4 of this course, /program. And And it's going to be pretty freaking lit. I just have to say that I'm very excited about the program I'm working with. I'm very excited to finally kind of be developing a brand around this, and I'm very excited to be taking it to the next level, I think. And if you are excited as well, you should check it out sooner than later, because what's going to happen is, first of all, it's $25 right now, and there's a $5 discount you get by using the code AskWeldon. So you might say, hey, no, it's $30. No, use the code AskWeldon, you'll get your discount. And I'm using like 100% of that money right now. Actually, my PayPal just hit 0 yesterday. I was kind of scared. I was like, I hope nobody asked for a refund, because I made a mistake and hit 0 when I was paying out some of the funding for this, but to the developer. But basically, I'm using 100% of the money from this to build it again, right? To build it even more. So this is more right now. This is more like I'm committing myself to this kind of cost. Like, I'm going to do this. I'm committing myself to it because it wasn't free. I spent 25 of my hard-earned dollars on this, so you're a little bit more motivated to actually force to focus on it without attrition, which is part of the goal of having a price. I was looking for the pricing sweet spot for a long time. It's like enough that people have to think about it before they buy it, and then have to try to stay in the program, feel that tinge of motivation, but cheap enough that everybody can kind of still afford it, more or less. I think that's the sweet spot. So anyway, we're gonna change it up. With version 4, it's gonna be a little bit different. It's gonna be more of my main focus. Okay. And so first of all, once the program is ready, everybody who currently owns the program gets to go into the new app as the beta testers. We're gonna shut off purchasing for a month while we test it and while we get it worked out and while we build the actual purchase cart, because I think that'll take a week or so to build. And then when we open it back up, it's going to have a different pricing model. It's going to be a subscription instead of a one-time payment. But as I've always said, everybody who is in before the door closes, basically that's lifetime access. So from when I started this program back in 2013, that was 5 years ago, every single person that's purchased it has been grandfathered into the next one always, just kind of automatically always moved up. And that is finally going to come to an end. I feel like 5 years of beta testing and 3 versions of the program are enough for me to get kind of all the information I need for that, and we're ready to launch the real app. And that's what's coming. So make sure you check it out. You can always take a refund if you want. That's what this 100% satisfaction thing says over there. It doesn't mean it's going to work for you. It means that if it doesn't, or you aren't enjoying it, or you think it's irrelevant, then you can just say, hey, not for me. Bam. And I give you the refund, unless my PayPal account is currently 0, like it was yesterday accidentally for some time, in which case you might have to wait a week or so. And we have a Ponzi scheme going on at that point, because it's like, wait, I can't refund you until I get somebody else's payment to refund you with. Oh, that felt really bad yesterday. I was like, oh my gosh, am I a Ponzi scheme because I messed this up now? And then I just transferred some of the money back that double transferred to my bank account, and the problem was solved. But yeah, that was a pretty funny situation. Anyway, let's jump into the last question, everybody. Since I know you are a fan of one-tricking, even for climbing to go pro, I wanted to ask, when does it become bad to be a one-trick? I remember one EULCS coach said it's the most important thing not to be one-trick if you want to get scouted. Also, it's good to play any champion you like, even if it's not meta or LCS pick. Okay, so first I'll address the first question, then I'll address the second question. Of course, you can't get scouted if you're a one-trick. That's not the point of one-tricking. The point of one-tricking is to get to as high a rank as possible in as short a time as possible so that you can play other champions and get better. Let me put it this way. You're going to log into a game as Annie, and you're going to one-trick her all the way to like top of Challenger, okay? Now, there are 2 other options for getting good at, let's pick brand, A, B, right? Fire. There were 2 options for getting good at brand as well. Option 1, you play Annie and brand together when you're low rank. You're playing against low rank players. You're going to be punished as a low ranked player would punish you. And you're going to learn Annie and brand at basically a little bit, you're going to rank up at a slower rate because you're not focusing on one champion. But you're going to learn more about brand kind of slowly along the way. Now, scenario 2, you one-trick Annie only all the way up to the max rank. Then you pick brand. You get crushed But two things happen. One, you know how high level lanes function on Annie because you are that high rank now. So you have this deep insight into how it is that you abuse lane and how it is that you get abused in lane. And number two, you are punished on Brand, you're punished on Brand by a challenger player who is punishing you in the most aggressive way possible. And so you learn the most. It's very, very painful, and you're going to lose a lot of rank, but that's not relevant. What we're talking about here is learning, not rank. So I want you to play against the highest possible. Imagine this. You're going to play tennis, right? You're going to learn tennis. You're like, I want to learn tennis. Do you want to go next door to your house, knock on Fred's house, and be like, hey, play some tennis with me? Then you go and you practice tennis, and you're like, my goal is to become a pro someday. And Fred's like, yeah, that's cool. And you're hitting the ball back and forth. You're like, I'm getting good at tennis. Or would you rather that Djokovic comes by and he's like, hey, you want to hit the ball around? You're like, yeah, I want to go pro someday. And he smashes the ball at you over and over and over again, and you return it, and you try to play with him, and you never really even get a volley going. You like everywhere you hit is answered, basically. But you learn a lot in that game because you learn what is possible and what is not possible. And I'm pretending that you're not like a 12-year-old here, so obviously you have the same reach and physical capabilities of him, you just don't have the skill. Okay, so obviously if you want to go pro, if your desire is to actually go pro, you're going to want to take the afternoon with Djokovic, not with Fred. And the reason is because you learn much more, and it's more painful, and you get more exposed, and you get shown where the path is, okay? And that is exactly why why I recommend one-tricking as fast as you can to the top, and then branching out and getting punished by your opponents and learning more quickly, because you learn much more quickly when your opponents are higher level, okay? So, one USCS coach has said it's most important things not to be a one trick if you want to get scouted. Obviously, you don't get scouted as a one trick. You get high rank as a one trick, or as high rank as you can, as fast as you can, and then you start learning all the other champs, or you start learning the game. Also, you can learn the game more as a one trick, I feel like, because you can get mechanics off the table and you can focus more on strategy. Since I know you're a fan of one tricking, oh yeah, okay. So that also, is it good to play any champ you like, even if it's not meta or else? Yes. No, not really. You should pick the best champ for the role, or for the game. At the high level, people are just going to be pissed. Your goal is to network with pros, and for that, you need to have a good reputation and show insight. And so, one of the best things you can do is pick the proper champion there, and then to own with it. So you always want to pick the proper champion and then own with it. And as the meta shifts, you want to show that you can shift with the meta as well. And that is how you get noticed, is you're the one who's picking the meta champs, and you're owning with them in a high rank. So, yeah, that's what I recommend. If your goal is not to be scouted, then you don't have to worry about that, right? Keep that in mind. Okay, guys, thanks for coming out to the show today. Make sure to hop over to Twitch, twitch.tv/mindgamesweldon. That is where I'm going in about 5 seconds when the show ends. And I'm going to go back and see what I missed in Twitch chat and answer all the questions there. And you guys should come as well. I have a little bit of a selfish kind of desire for this because I am really close to partner. I just need an average of 75 viewers, and I have every single other box ticked off as far as attainment partner. So come on out, make sure you follow and click the notifications button so you know when I go live. I go live at exactly 4:30 a.m. Helsinki time every day for the next 6 weeks. So you can set your watch to it. And I hope that you guys are able to come and support me. I will see you later. Oh, but obviously, this is way more important.